Of four popular diets, Paleo, Keto, Vegan, and Whole30, which is the best? Well, when you say which is the best for what? Which is the best for weight loss? Or which is the best for optimal health? The paleo diet, also known as the Paleolithic diet, is a very high fat, moderate protein, mostly meat and vegetables diet. And it excludes all grains. It actually has a huge list of foods that are absolutely not allowed on the paleo diet. So no grains, no alcohol, no dairy, no gluten, no sugar. And when they mean sugar, no white sugar, no flour, no legumes, so no beans, no peas, no red or white potatoes, no processed foods, no corn, no soy, and no peanuts. That's quite an extensive list. Although they say there's no dairy, they do allow ghee, which is butter that's been heated, so it's still dairy. But anyways, no refined oils, but they do allow coconut oil. And the reason why they have that list of foods to avoid is those foods can cause inflammation in some people and are advised by doctors for people who are celiac, who have Crohn's disease, who are autistic, and who have colitis. So removing those items are beneficial to them, but it's not necessary that everybody remove those items. But on the paleo diet, what allows people to lose weight is that they're not eating processed foods, they're not eating junk food. So yeah, they're most likely going to lose weight. And you can lose weight on any diet if calories are restricted. So what I don't like on the paleo diet is that it's so restricted, and you are removing a lot of healthy carbs such as oats, and there's nothing wrong with red or white potatoes as long as you're not eating a whole bunch of it. But beans, those have a lot of fiber, so people might not be getting enough fiber on the paleo diet, and I've heard of that a lot where people have issues, and so they have to take supplements in order to go to the bathroom, and they'll even get a lot of bloating from that diet. And since it's typically high fat and high in meat, people use like high fat meats. It can be a high cholesterol diet. So there are people who go on the paleo diet and gain weight. So that's an issue as well. The Whole30 diet is very similar to the paleo diet in that a lot of these same foods are restricted. But on the Whole30 diet, it's actually even more restricted. So the list of foods you can't have on the Whole30 diet is no alcohol, no smoothies, no grains, no peanuts, no beans, no soy, no dairy, no sugar, no honey, no maple syrup. All sweeteners are excluded, so that means stevia is not even allowed. No corn. You can't have desserts or treats. Now on the paleo diet, they will make desserts and cakes and breads with nuts instead of flour. But on the Whole30 diet, no treats allowed whatsoever. You also can't have MSG, which is a good thing. MSG has been shown to cause cancer, so that's good. That's off the list. It should be off anyone's list. No carrageenan, and that's a thickener. You'll see that in usually products that are like a product that you drink, but that's kind of a questionable product, so it's probably good not to have items with carrageenan. No sulfites. I agree with that. That's something that causes cancer. No vegetable oils, but they do allow ghee, which even though they say no dairy, they allow dairy or ghee on the Whole30 diet, and they do allow coconut oil, and I believe they allow other oils like avocado oil. So the difference between the Whole30 diet, other than it's way more restricted, is they allow the white potatoes, so that's good. White and red potatoes are allowed on the Whole30 diet. So the Whole30 diet is different in that the paleo diet is a lifestyle. The Whole30 diet is a diet that you follow for 30 days. That's it, 30 days. And after 30 days, you reintroduce the foods that were on the list that you couldn't have. So let's say, so you follow it strictly, you can't even have a taste of alcohol, not even a sip. So if, let's say, you had a sip of your friend's beer on day 15, guess what? You have to start over. So that next day becomes your day 1. So after 30 days of being completely strict, being perfect on this diet, then you can reintroduce one of those foods. So let's say it's peanuts. So you can eat some peanuts. There's, as many as you want, really. There's no limitation. It's best to have just some. And then you determine whether you want to keep that food in your diet or eliminate it completely, maybe forever. And so the way you determine that is how you feel. So if eating peanuts makes you sneeze, or maybe if it gives you a headache or a stomach ache, then that tells you peanuts are probably not something that you should eat, and that really isn't a good food for you. So instead of going to the doctor and doing a bunch of tests, this is another way of doing it. It's kind of like a food challenge. And every 3 days you introduce another food. So let's say 3 days after that you can introduce quinoa. 3 days after that you can introduce honey. 3 days after that you can introduce, let's say, bread. So, and the list goes on. And so that, that could take another 2 months. So it's kind of like, it is a 30-day diet, but if you reintroduce all those foods in that order, it could definitely be more like a 3-month diet. So that's the difference with the two. So they are both high fat. They can be low to moderate protein, and they can be low to moderate in carbohydrates, depending on what carbohydrates you have. I mean, if you have a bunch of yams and sweet potatoes, that's healthy carbs, that's good. It just really depends. And then you can make the fat high or low depending on what meats you choose and how much oil you put in your meals. But if I looked at a whole bunch of Whole30 recipes and a lot of paleo recipes and a lot of books, I have like a bunch of them and I look through, most of them call for high fat meats and a lot of coconut oil or a lot of ghee. Both of those are saturated fats. Meat obviously is a saturated fat, and so there are people who can gain weight from either diet, but I've also heard that a lot of people are losing weight from the Whole30 diet because, again, they're cutting out the sweets, the sugars, and they're eating less than they have been in the past. So both diets can definitely result in weight loss. On the keto diet or the ketogenic diet, it's a little similar but a little bit different than the paleo diet and the Whole30 diet. On the keto diet, it is a low carbohydrate diet for 5 days. And what I mean by low is you're not supposed to eat more than 30 grams of carbohydrates per day for 5 days. So to put that into perspective, a banana is about 30 grams of carbohydrates. So that's all you can have for the whole day. But everything has carbohydrates. Even onions and broccoli, everything has, pretty much almost everything has some carbohydrates. So basically that banana, sorry, you can't have it. So at least for those 5 days. So, and it's more like a carb cycling diet. So on 2 days, so probably 7 days of the week, so 2 days is a high carbohydrate diet. And the reason why we have low carbs versus the high carbs on the 2 days is eating those carbohydrates will prevent muscle loss. So there are people who deviate and they call it keto. It's really what they're doing is a low carbohydrate diet, and they're just calling it a keto diet. So there's been studies and people have actually found that if they're just low carb pretty much all the time, that a lot of men, they have problems gaining muscle. They can't get bigger. Once they introduce more carbohydrates, that's usually not an issue. But regarding the keto diet, it's also very high fat. It's usually it's moderate protein. It's more fat than anything. But of course, you should have your green veggies with it. So people, if they're doing it right, they should have a whole bunch of green vegetables. But again, it's low in fiber during the week, and so a lot of people are going to have a little bit of an issue with that. And then on the weekends, or if you're doing 5 days of low carb and a weekend, you're going to do the high carb, which is actually a good way to do it. The trick to do is eat very, very healthy, high carbohydrate, whole foods on the weekend. But some people, they're going to go for things they probably shouldn't. So that can lead to nutritional deficiencies. Nutritional deficiencies can lead to a whole host of medical issues and even cancer. The keto diet is very good for weight loss, but it's not very good for a health standpoint. You shouldn't have to load up like crazy and stuff yourself with carbs just to protect your muscles. You should be eating healthy carbohydrates, fairly frequently throughout the day. You don't have to eat a whole ton. You probably shouldn't eat a lot, but moderation is key. And if you're eating the high fat, especially the high fat meats, even if you're eating a moderate amount of protein, you're going to have high cholesterol and saturated fats. That's just not good for anyone. Even though somebody may look super healthy and be ripped, it doesn't mean what's going on inside looks so great. So on a keto diet, not good for health, great for getting really lean. If it's for some sort of event like a wedding or a photo shoot, sure, you can try it for a couple weeks and lean out, and that's fine. But I wouldn't make that my permanent diet. The vegan diet is becoming more and more popular. So all those foods that are not allowed on the Whole30 diet or the Paleo diet, they are allowed on the vegan diet. So except for dairy. Dairy is not allowed. Ghee is not allowed on the vegan diet. If you're a little confused, it's that vegetarians eat dairy, but vegans do not. So vegans don't even eat honey because honey is from a bee, and so no animal sources are allowed to be eaten or worn on a vegan diet. But what's really great about a vegan diet is it's high in fiber and it is low in saturated fat. Just be careful of the coconut oil. Just don't eat a lot of oils. Limit those. And I mean, you're eating good foods. You're eating grains. As long as it's like oats, don't eat too much rice. If you're eating more like the oats and the beans, that's really good for health. That has a lot of fiber. And the people that I've noticed that are heavy on the vegan diets is because they're not eating the whole foods. You can have cookies. There's vegan cookies, there's vegan cakes, there's vegan desserts, there's raw vegan desserts. If you eat too much of anything, that's too much calories and you're gonna gain weight. So on the vegan diet, there's plenty of really healthy, really thin vegans, and then there's heavy vegans as well. So you can certainly be thin on a vegan diet, and that is a very healthy way to live. But from my perspective, I mean, I've tried all of these diets. The vegan diet is it's great, but doing this full time, I just can't do it. I just don't have enough energy on the vegan diet. I have low iron stores as it is, and you can't get enough iron from vegan food. So they'll say you can, but the body just doesn't process it, absorb it as well. So my doctor actually told me that I need to eat a red meat once a week, and I do believe that if you're eating healthy most of the time and your body is craving something, your body's probably telling you something that you need, whatever it is. So if I'm craving meat, maybe I do need more iron. So I think balance is key, and whatever you're doing, I would say aim for health, not weight loss, because once you lose your health, that's the most important thing, is feeling good. Looking good's great, but feeling good, nothing like it.